single day, you're just like, okay, we're okay. They're just
falls on deaf ears.
Well, maybe not that, but you start to get numb and you start to not take them as seriously if you have a meeting when it really matters. So if Bob Melvin comes in and he's chill, or Bruce Bochy comes in and he's chill, or a Felipe Alou comes in and he's chill, or a Bill Walsh, for that matter, comes in and has a stern meeting, now you're leaning in and you're listening. And sometimes fear's a motivator. I feel like,
for me, it is.
If you don't run the ball out, you're sitting next to me. If you don't do this, you're sitting next to me. If you don't do this, you're going back to Sacramento. Like, that doesn't happen much nowadays. Tough love is not a thing at the professional level because this generation is more of a huggy, lovey, things will work out. Hey, that can't happen again. But like if you got an old school guy and he comes in and lets it rip once in a while, it can definitely have an effect. And it did for one game.
No doubt about it.
I don't know if they're going to go in and get swept by the Rangers. I don't know if they're going to go in and sweep the Rangers. I don't know if that's going to be the speech heard around the world and now they go. I don't know those things. Generally speaking, they have a short-term effect, but hopefully the message has a long-term effect.
No, I love it. And I'll be real. Bo Mel is, come on, he's a top-flight manager, okay? He's managed in playoff games. He couldn't solve the puzzle that was the San Diego Padres with all those egos in the clubhouse. I don't know if Dr. Phil could, but there have been sometimes this season some junctures after games to where I'm like, you know what? I wish, from a personal standpoint, FP, Bo Mel would show more emotion. And there's losing, and then there's how you play as you lose. And I think that's why he was fed up. He said they looked like they were in quicksand. You mentioned Casey Schmidt and a couple errors. And before you respond, I just want, because I think this is kind of funny, this question. And Bo Mel was asked, is this the best you've ever felt after a win in his manager career?
You know, that was the first thing I looked at. It was a little frustrating. The entire game felt like it was frustrating kind of for both sides as far as, as many pitches that were thrown. And it just was kind of a white knuckle thing for a while. But opened it up enough, scored some runs, did some good things offensively, made some good defensive plays, and bullpen did a great job.
Somebody actually asked him if this is the best you've ever felt after a win.
Yeah, Melvin asked if this is the happiest he's ever been after a game.
That's not a good question.
That's not. It's almost. It's just kind of slap in the face.
Yeah,
like you know who I am, Kevin Durant. You know who I am.
He handled that with class. This is the best I've ever felt.
This is a game in damn June, at the beginning of June, and I'm sure he's managed teams losing. Multiple losing. Multiple losing streaks over the time.
I like the fact that he deflected it to the team and not himself. And he's not taking credit for giving a speech. Like Rob Thompson, the manager of the Phillies, like apparently he came in after Joe Girardi and he made it all about the team and not himself. And he always deflects every answer to the team. And it's never about himself and he never wants credit. And he's a disciple of Joe Torre, and that's the way Joe Torre was. I told this story on the air, I think it was last Friday, with Willard and Dibbs.
Okay.
About how Joe Torre came in the first day of spring training when I was a Yankee and said, like, look, we don't care who gets the credit here. We check our egos in at the door. I get way too much credit for all our success. Derek gets way too much credit. Rocket gets way too much credit. We have an owner that's going to put us in a position to win, and he's going to get us anything we need throughout the course of a season. And anything besides a championship is unacceptable here for Mr. Steinbrenner. And it's unacceptable for us. But we don't care who gets the credit because guess what? If we do what we set out to do and we win a championship, we all get paid. We all get what we deserve. But we don't care. It's not like I'm sitting here going, we win because of me. It's not like Derek's going to the media and saying, we win because of me.
Right.
We don't do that here. We just win. And I was like, whoa. And in this little like 10, 12-minute talk that Joe gave us in the clubhouse first day of spring training, I said, this is why they win. This is why they win here, because they don't care who gets the credit.
Wow,
and I think there's a lot to be said about the team in Santa Clara, and that's the way they go about it. And I don't know if that's a Kyle thing or a Lynch thing. I don't know whose it is, but it seems to me, based on what they say, their quotes in the media, how they act, I don't think they care who gets the credit.
That's why George Kittle, to me, FP never raises hell about his numbers or his catches or his targets.
One week, Kittle has 3 touchdowns. Yeah. The next week, he gets 3 receptions for 12 yards, and he never says a word. And 1 week, Ayuk's part of it, and he did say a word after the Super Bowl, but that's the first thing you've heard. So 1 week it's McCaffrey, 1 week it's all
I give
Purdy.
Kyle credit for that.
One week it's Kittle, 1 week's Ayuk, 1 week it's Juwan Jennings, 1 week it's the Fred Warner. But they're never pounding their chest about me. It's about we. Everything they say is about we in their quotes. It's about winning. And they know if you win, the contracts and all that stuff takes care of itself. That's such a hard thing to develop when there's so many egos and there's so much money at stake in such a short window.
Man.
It's not like they're lawyers and they just graduated from law school and they're 25 years old and they can be a lawyer till they're 75 and they have 50 years of a career. These guys have 3 to 4 years. Even in baseball, the average career is like 2.5 to 3 years at the big league level. So you have a small window of opportunity to make all the money you can to set up generations. And it's so difficult to get guys to check their ego at the door and check their selfish and to be selfless. And if you have a coach that can implement that, or a president or a GM that can get them to buy into that and show them the proof is in the pudding. If we win, we get paid. If we win, everything takes care of itself. And they buy into that. Dude, that's special at the highest level. That doesn't happen because everyone's got their own agenda. Everyone's got their own egos. Everyone's got, it's me and my endorsements and the car I'm driving and the house I live in and the girl I'm dating and the jewelry I'm wearing. And you can get that. And then it becomes every man for himself. And once you get to every man for himself, and once you get okay with losing, and I think that's where the Bob Melvin speech came in yesterday. It's not if you lose, it's how you lose. And I think more importantly, it's how you respond to losing. If you go into a locker room and guys are okay with losing and you get to that point, that's something you can't turn around. That's a malignancy that's not getting turned around.
No doubt about it. Well said. That's FP. I'm Daryl the Guru Johnson right here on Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game. And we're talking about managers. We're talking about great coaches. The Giants had lost 6 in a row, playing the last game of a 3-game set in Arizona. And Bob Melvin, the night before, he was upset. And the Giants respond with 9 runs, and they win that game 9-3. And like you said, FP, and I appreciate the realness, we don't know if it was because of their skipper being upset, but we'll watch this closely moving forward because it's a long season. But basically, the fabric of the show has been what makes a good manager, what's a good coach, and to tell us the ones that you've seen, because the NBA Finals start tonight, and just think about the Warriors who didn't even make the playoffs. The great Steve Kerr has 4 championship rings. They have set out a voyage, and they've conquered 4 times, and this year they're not even in it, and they're just bystanders. And we're going to watch the game tonight to see if 2 other markets, Boston and Dallas, can hoist up the O'Brien Trophy. But I got a question for you, and you tell me if I'm prying.
You're prying.
The Giants are headed to the Lone Star State to play the Texas Rangers and face the first time their former manager, Bruce Bochy. I mean, that's big. I wish it was here. It's not. It's in Texas. But if I were to ask you from your experience, what's the difference between Bo Mel and Bruce Bochy? How would you answer that?
Well, I think Bochy was here at the ballpark last year, but it's the first time they're going to Texas. It's the first time he's defending world champion.
Adversaries,
yeah. What was the question again, Drew?
The difference between Bo Mel style and a guy like Bochy.
I don't think there's much difference at all. And you asked me early on, and I want to reset because, if you're listening for 4 hours, God bless you. But we started the show with you asking me what makes a good coach. Right. And the more we talk about this, there's other things that are kind of popping up in my brain.
People want to talk about it, yeah.
Popping up in my brain. And I said honesty and communication.
Yes, sir.
Another thing's popping into my head is selflessness. Because a lot of times coaches get caught up in the same things players get caught up in. I'm on the news every day. I have my press conference. I'm on TV.
I think Gabe Kapler did that. That's just my 2 cents.
Maybe. And if it's about them and they make that about them, you'll hear players with like front top step coaches or coaches that are like, hey, it's our time now. You had your chance. And I think the thing that talking about Rob Thompson, the manager of the Phillies, who I'm a huge fan of, I love the way he goes about it. And you hear the players talking about him, and they're always talking about and how selfless he is, and it's not about him. And I think that helps you as a player to want to play for that guy. And I told this story to you in the green room. I went up to Tony La Russa one day, and this is while I was a broadcaster back east, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about getting back into coaching. Felipe told me I'd be a good big league manager. Dusty said I'd be a good big league manager. I'm thinking about doing that because the broadcasting thing was going either way for me at that point. And I said, what would you tell a young kid that wants to get into managing, wants to manage at the big league level? And he said this. He said, make sure your guys respect you and want to play for you before you show them how smart you are. He goes, the biggest mistake coaches make is they want to show their players how smart they are. He goes, if you get them to want to play for you, that just falls into place. But most young coaches are like, I've got the world figured out. I got the formula, and I'm going to show you my formula, and we're going to go by this, and we're going to win. But then you don't have them playing for you because you've already alienated yourself by showing them that you're smarter than them. Players don't want to play for a guy that they think is smarter than them. They want to play for a guy they respect, that's honest, that's open, that's authentic, that's not making it about themselves. And then once you get that, your bunt Ds and your first and third Ds and your lineups and your pitching changes and who you bring in out of the bullpen, that all just falls into place. But he told me that's the biggest mistake a young manager makes at the highest level.
Wow, man. And again, I don't want to kick a guy while he's down. He's not. Gabe Kapler, he's got a job right now. He's in Miami. But I felt like you're describing him. Get my good side. Get my beard. Let me show you my muscles.
I think Gabe a lot of times had trouble being authentic, that he would try to sound smart in press conference versus just normal.
And that, man, people love but
that's just him as a person.
Be yourself.
Follow him on TikTok right now. He just wants I think he just wants to be recognized for his intelligence level more than he'll tell you he's authentic. And maybe he is being authentic because that's just who he is. Yeah. Maybe he's not being fake,